because that's all this industry is. It's leverage. It's people you know, and if you don't know the people, or the people are not giving you the opportunity to provide the opportunity for yourself, you have to hold value and leverage.
Empire Podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Empire. And yes, better believe it, we have another great guest, MC, rap artist, and co-owner of Dapper Up Entertainment. And that gentleman's name is Persinal. Persinal, welcome to the Empire.
No, thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for inviting me. I actually don't get invited to a lot of podcasts, so when I got the message, I'm not gonna lie, it like warmed my soul a little bit. I was like, me? All right, cool, yeah, sure, yeah.
Chosen one.
Exactly.
Chosen one. Yeah, I was going through it was like kind of like flipping in my mind, and then I was like, oh, Persinal.
Yes, sir.
Boom. And so thank you for being here. Thank you for coming out, man. And so I'm glad we were able to connect and get together, and look forward to everything, man. How's your day been so far? How's your new year been so far, man?
It's had its ups and downs, dealing with a lot of family issues at the moment. Just members of the family that are sick. I actually moved in with them in December to help take care of them. But other than that, I just got promoted at work, which was cool. The music has been doing fairly well, all things considered.
Mm-hmm.
I do need to be better about my my social media presence, but funny enough, as an artist, I hate social media. I feel like it's such a toxic place for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I do post, I always try to just err on the side of positivity and try to shed some light on things, but it does get very overwhelming. And seeing people portray lives that they don't have, or the comparisons I see people making, and these are people that I don't even know, but I feel for them, kids of the next generation that don't feel adequate because they're trying to live this picture perfect life from people that don't even actually have it. So it does get mentally exhausting and overwhelming, but it's the name of the game. I gotta be better about it. I gotta be better on the promo, and yeah.
Hey, man. Well, number one, congrats on the promotion.
Thank you.
Number two, don't overthink it when it comes to social media. Just sometimes it might be just as like, hey, I'm going to a podcast.
Yeah. No, and that's true.
Yeah,
I did post it on my story.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
and it's funny. Diesel tells me not to overthink all the time. I have someone, important behind me telling me not to overthink, but I'm a Capricorn. I feel like that's just what we do. We overanalyze everything.
Got you, yes.
Not to blame it on zodiac signs. That's just more so to be funny. But I do have a tendency to overthink, and I have I'm prone to anxiety. So
the combination.
I try to regulate everything.
Yeah, and I also want to give shout out to you for the responsibility of stepping up and taking care of family.
Thank you.
All right, because what I learned as you get older, as I got older, I learned that people don't have to do things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's part of our free will. Like, we don't have to do things, right? And I'm certain the individual or individuals are grateful that you're there to them, to help them, right?
Yeah.
And if there's any information that I could help you with as far as like health-wise or anything like that, please let me know, and I'll definitely share some things, right?
I appreciate it.
Because I was listening to a lady, shout out to Barbara O'Neill, and one of the things she says is that when it comes to like illness and preventing illness, is that you can't do the same thing that you were doing before and expect different results after the fact, as far as healing wise, right? So there's going to be some changes that have to be made, right?
Yeah.
In the individual and stuff like that. But Persinal, since we're here, for people who may not know who you are and the things that you do, can you please let everybody know who you are and the things that you do, man?
So I'm an artist from the IE. There's really no specific city. I've lived in Rialto, I've lived in Ontario, I've lived in Rancho when life was, financially a little bit better. And who I am as an artist, I have my radio friendly stuff, of course, the songs that people just want to hear to, have a good time or maybe they want to drive to.
Mm-hmm.
But most of my music is centered around the importance of mental health awareness. Um, I talk a lot about mistakes I've made, sins I've made, trying to better who I am as a person through the tribulations and turmoils of those events,
Mm-hmm.
and really just try to be a voice for people who feel like they haven't found theirs yet. I feel like that's always been the most important staple of who I am, and that's funny enough why I went with the name Personal, because it was kind of a double-edged sword. I could, get personal. I could, am I allowed to curse? I could get personal. I could talk my shit, but I can also make it personal for people to relate to on a deeper level. And I think one of the biggest testaments to that, I have a song called Before I Love Myself. Probably one of the most powerful songs I've ever written.
Mm-hmm.
And the last verse came out, and this is just to kind of let the audience know who I am as an artist. It says, um, every friend I try to make, every woman that I date, all the effort that I give, they make it feel like a mistake. I guess I care too much and they don't do the same for me. I guess I'm not enough. The person that I am, I'm quick to give my trust to get stabbed in the back by the same damn ones who needed something from me. So I gave them what they wanted for nothing in return. I said, I got it. So I got it. But that the times I needed help reminded too damn well, I'll love everybody else before I love myself. And that came, it was a very dark period of time,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And I remember performing that song, and I was so hesitant because I was like, people don't usually perform these kind of songs live, especially, the
Mm-hmm.
events that, I'd been going to at the time. And I can't remember her name, and I had never met her before, but she came up to me, tears in her eyes, and she's all, "Thank you for making that song. Please don't stop making music like this."
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gave me the confidence to really stay vulnerable within my music and stay true to who I am.
Got you.
Yeah.
Do you know what event you met her at? Have you seen her since? Have you seen the same girl since?
No.
Okay.
And it was a Pomona Loud event when I was I think I was like 21 or 22 at the time. It was a
Okay.
Pomona Loud, yeah.
You know,
Shout out Il Cruz.
whoop, whoop, whoop. It immediately made me think of when you mentioned like the mental health. 'Cause I realized that was a staple of one of the pillars of your rapping styles, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And it just also makes me think about, I guess I could say your mentor, Deez, right?
Yeah.
Right. He's really big on that as well,
Mhm.
right? And it just made me think about, I wonder if they would ever come out with a collab album or something like that that completely addresses some things like that. Maybe in the works. Who knows? Um, but Personal, we like to go deep here.
Yeah.
Deep as I was going to say something about Amber Rose, but we'll avoid that. um, but yeah, can you give us all, as they used to say, Marvel style, an origin story
Origin
about
story.
how you grew up, where you grew up, all the way up to the gentleman that you are today, and
Yeah.
you can be as brief as you can, or detail as you can. How
Okay.
we're here. We're here.
So I never met my sperm donor. The guy who knocked up my mom, he left us the day I was born, and my mom met my dad when I was 3. But we didn't move in together as a family until I was 8. So I grew up in kind of a rougher area in Riverside, and it was too small of a house, and it was my mom, myself, her mom's husband, her sister, and her brother. And times were tough. My mom had me young. My mom had me at 16 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and so she was still figuring life out as well. And I actually remember the first time I met my dad, because I don't know how long they had been dating before she brought him to meet me. But I remember him walking up the driveway, and I just ran out and grabbed his hand. I was like, "Mom, is this my daddy?" And so he got stuck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been my best friend ever since. Like him and my mom actually, sidebar. Him and my mom actually got divorced when I was 16, and I'm still close to him to this day. The
Mm-hmm.
family I moved in with to take care of is his family, and
Mm-hmm.
like I make time every Saturday to visit him. Like this man is my superhero, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before that, I was kind of I don't want to say awkward kid, but I was just very shy. I was very reserved. I had a hard time trusting people just because of the fact, that someone who was supposed to be my parent at the time had walked out. And, when I was a kid, I had my dad, but I understood like there was still different elements out there that, this person didn't show up for me in the way they were supposed to. So I struggled with that growing up until I got old enough to realize like my dad is my dad through and through.
Mm-hmm.
But the other kids in the neighborhood too, I got jumped a lot, and I got teased, I got bullied a lot. And their words, I remember one time, um, I just got left on a sidewalk somewhere, and my face was bleeding, and I had bruises and scrapes. And they said, "Oh, he doesn't have a dad to stop us." And so I became a target, became a target, became a target.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How old were you?
that happened between the ages of 4 and 8.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 and 8. Until I finally I stood my ground. I punched one of them back, and then apparently I was the problem after that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the family filed a restraining order against my family, and it just became this whole thing.
The irony.
Yeah, right. But even when I was a kid and dealing with all that stuff, there was also some issues. I'm okay with talking about it, but because it's not my story to tell, I'll kind of refrain on some of the details.
Mm-hmm.
But, my mom's mom had been struggling with some things, substance wise, which was difficult to grow up and see and be in the household of.
Grandma.
Uh, my mom's mom. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess in terms of lineage, yeah, but I don't.
Mm.
There's
It's how you word it.
Yeah,
I got you.
there's reasons behind that.
Mm-hmm.
But I always just tried my best to, be kind. I remember whenever my mom and I would go out to stores or we'd go to the hospital because I would have checkups, and I'd always bring extra toys. That way, if I found a kid that I could, play with, I'd give him the toy and be like, "You can have it," just
Mm-hmm.
because it made me smile to make other people smile. And I tried to keep that into my adult years, but again, I was also very shy, very reserved. I was the kid that would bring 1,000-page books to school in second and third grade because books were my escape.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and it was all about reading about the magical world where you could become as powerful as you wanted to be, even if where you started from was the humblest of beginnings, and
Mm-hmm.
you could be the superhero, and you could be the powerful entity. And I resonated a lot with that, and without the capability of being able to express that because I was still too young to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a lot of friends growing up until about third grade. So I'm 8 years old. There was an instance centering around the substance abuse that tore my mom and her mom apart from each other. And my dad actually moved my mom and I in with his parents. And we lived together for about a year while they saved up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved from Riverside to Rancho. And that's where I met my best friend. He's still my best friend to this day. I've known that man for like 20 years. It's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. But I met Lawrence, and that was my first true friend.
Mm-hmm. The one you could share a toy with.
Yeah. And so I actually remember because he always gives me shit because him, my dad, and a couple people from the group, they all still build Legos, and they have all these Lego displays.
Well,
And even when we were kids, he was all about Legos. And I was just riding my bike through the apartment complex, and his garage was open, and he was sitting there playing Legos, and he looks up, and he's all, "You want to play with me?" I was like, "I don't like Legos, but okay." And that's what started this 20-year,
got you.
friendship. So he became my brother after that. And fast forward, there's a lot of stuff in between all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But just to get into the music aspect of things, I actually found hip hop when I was 11 or 12. But I kind of had to sneak around it because my parents didn't want me listening to it. They thought it was a bad influence.
Yeah.
Um,
What
which
year is this, would we say? 2000 and
if I was 11, would have been 2008.
Okay.
2008. But which was ironic because my dad raised me up on 70s and 80s heavy metal. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
hip hop was the bad influence.
That part.
I was like, Dad, you realize how much aggression is behind all this, right?
Yeah, it's like T-Pain. You can't listen to T-Pain.
But you know, I would listen to it on the low, on the low, on the low. And then when I was 15, you know, because, you know, we're not going to shy around, you know, my complexion, right? You know, there are a lot of rappers that I love, but there are certain things that I just will never be able to relate to. And I'll be the first one to admit that. And anyone of Caucasian descent that tries to say, oh, no, I understand. No, you don't. So, you know, there are rappers that I absolutely love, but there are certain struggles that I just cannot understand. And I try my best to sympathize, and I try my best to, you know, keep myself involved in the culture. But I won't understand 100%. So, you know, rappers like Eminem and Mac Miller, you know, of course, you know, those were like, oh, that's the testament that white boys can do this and white boys can be in the house of hip hop. And so Eminem came out with MMLP2 with Rap God. And I remember hearing Rap God, and I learned it word for word for word for word. And I would go to school and I'd be like, "Hey guys, look at this! I can sound like Eminem." And I would do the whole song through and through. This was at the continuation school of Valley View, and one kid, I can't remember his name either, but he sat me down and he was "You sound dope, like you have a good voice, but you should try to make your own music." And I was like, nah, I couldn't do that. I'm not I don't even understand, the structure of a song. But I sat down and wrote my first song, when I was 15. And as crappy as that song was, I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the essence of hip hop, that it doesn't matter what your skin tone is. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what your, gender is, sexual orientation, religious belief system, nothing. There is something for everyone that can bring everyone together. And it really, in my opinion, is the only genre of music that encases the entirety of the emotional spectrum. You have songs about mental health. You have songs about anger, you have songs about love, you have songs about heartbreak, you have songs about struggle, you have songs about substance abuse and the awareness of, you have songs about, let's just go get this money. There are so many things that, again, it doesn't matter what stage you are in life, you can at least relate to something.
You can find something to grab into.
Exactly. And that's what I fell in love with. That's absolutely what I fell in love with. So it just, continued. I remember by the time I was 19, 20, I'd already gone through, I was still trying to find myself as an artist, and I went through 3 different names. And the first name that I'd come out with, because everyone knows me as Anthony, but Anthony's actually my middle name. And I started going by Anthony when I was like 17, 18. But, my first name being Richard, my first rap name was Reckless Richie.
Okay.
And that was, that was my party persona. We were young, stupid kids. And then it developed into Rant, R.A.N.T, and it was the first initial of my first name and the first 3 letters of my middle name, but also because I like to go on rants. So, I like to talk, I like to go in depth, and I don't like surface level conversations. So I was like, let me rant about this. And it still didn't 100% fit. I started going by Enigma for a little while. And that was just more a testament to Edward Nigma and, Batman, because I'm a nerd. And I remember when I discovered the name Persinal, the actual origin story of the name Persinal. I was 21 and I was working in a construction yard, and it's just all guys, right? So you could just imagine the level of filth and shit talk that went on in this environment. And I try to be someone who keeps my composure now and not be ruled by my emotions, especially when carrying out conversations. But back then, I was very hot-headed, and I'd like to be the one with the last word. So one guy made a comment. I can't remember exactly what he said. Something along the lines of, because I was in a relationship at the time, and he's like, "How does it feel to know you're at work and someone at home is,
smashing the girl?"
Yeah. And I was like, how does it feel to know that when you die, all you're gonna leave your kids is your debt? And everyone like got quiet, and he was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Well, then don't talk shit, motherfucker." And someone was like, "Damn, why do you got to make it so personal?" I was like, "Wait, can you say that again?" He's all personal, and so I literally that same day I took it to a piece of paper, and I was like, J. Cole featuring Personal, Kendrick Lamar featuring Personal, Logic featuring Personal. I was like, okay, I could see that. I could see that being on the marquee. I could see that, and I was like, okay, but how can I play with the spelling of the name? So I sat down and I tried like a backwards E. I tried like Personal with a dollar sign. I was like, no, that's stupid. And then I was like, okay. And I sat down and I was like, who am I in the essence of my person? I'm human. I'm someone who's going to fuck up. I'm someone who struggles with certain, pleasures in life and certain emotions. So I played with it, and then I found it when I capitalized everything except the I. And it was to bring attention to the word sin in Personal, to show I'm a sinner, I'm human, I'm going to fuck up. I could repent for these sins. I could, relapse and accidentally make these sins again, but I'm working to better myself. And that's how the whole origin of that was a very in-depth answer. I'm sorry.
Nah, it was good. We don't apologize here. We don't, no apologies.
Yeah,
No
we listen and we
apologies.
don't judge.
Yeah, well, we judge. We judge. We judge. So many things I want to address.
Yeah, what's up?
What camp are you for Harry Potter?
What camp? Oh, what house?
Yes.
Slytherin.
Okay, Slytherin.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny, I actually got the ring on.
there it is.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. You want to show I don't know if the
I don't know
camera
if they
can
can
see it. Yeah.
We'll zoom in for them. Maybe they
Yeah.
can see it.
So it's just Slytherin green.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was actually a gift, which was cool.
Okay, quick side note. So I always thought it would have been great if I think his name's Snake, right?
Snape.
Snape, right?
Yeah.
I would have thought, because I think in the end when he's dying, he's like talking to Harry Potter like really emotionally, and I was like, it would have been a great storyline if that was actually Harry Potter's real father, and it would have made sense for why he was so hard on Harry Potter the entire time.
Yeah. Well, and so did you read the books at all by chance?
I did not.
So the books just really go a lot more into depth about the relationship he had with Lily. And it wasn't just, oh, he was friends with her. Like from what the books kind of alluded towards was that she was kind of entertaining things with him until she met James.
Mm-hmm.
And then completely forgot about him. And it was always kind of like an unrequited love from afar. And he had always been jealous when he found out that Lily was pregnant, found out that she had a son, and he didn't want to be involved. And Dumbledore basically made him. And he said, like, I can't look at this child because he has her eyes. Like, I'm just reminded every day of her, even though they had never been involved. And yeah, he was basically forced into this protector role. But in what the books also go more into depth about is that there's actually a point in time where he actually becomes fond of Harry and does want to actually protect him, but he can't show it because he's involved in Voldemort's camp. So it's a kind of like a bittersweet thing.
Yeah, the dichotomy is so good.
Yeah.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like what you hear so far, and just please like, subscribe, comment down below. I also wanted to ask, you mentioned about, kind of not understanding completely, I guess you could say, like the Black experience, right? I guess what I was going to say is that I'm not, because obviously there's different races of people, complexions of people grow up in different economic environments, right? So someone can relate, like, I know what it's like to go to the bodegas and blah, 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 right? And they can be of every skin color, right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask a question related to that, but the thing that I also wanted to address was that although this music, American music, was created by Black Americans, Afro Americans, FBAs, however you want to title these people, even though it was created by us, this goes for all the American musics, from blues till house music, uh, created by us, but it's been an open gift for everybody
Yeah.
to enjoy, right, and
Mhm.
express themselves with, which I think is the beauty of the essence of the African spirit.
Mhm.
All right, is that they create things not to you know safeguard and guard, but to make it as a tool of expression for everybody to
Mhm.
enjoy, right? And it made me think about the classical music world, because in the classical music world they're really I remember I was playing something and they're like, "Oh no, you're like the Black Beethoven," and it's like, oh, it's like you just couldn't be.
Beethoven. Yeah.
Yes, right. Yeah, there'd be this other thing. But anyway, I digress a little bit, but it just made me think very interesting, because I think it's when you said that hip hop is the most expressive as far as like the different things that people can say, but it just makes me think about um, everybody, like going back to like this the music being different genres being open for everybody, right?
Yeah.
So funk, jazz,
Mm.
blues, and obviously now house music. Everybody's able to do it. But I'll continue on to talking about you, right?
Yeah.
And what I wanted to get in, and you actually answered my question. I was going to ask about if you had any names before Personal,
Oh,
and you answered it, which is
yeah.
beautiful. I always love when that happens, because it answers the question before I get
Yeah.
there. But one of the questions that I wanted to ask, which is, if someone never heard your music,
Mhm.
and this is kind of a hard one for artists, as I noticed, is how would you kind of define your style and some of your influences?
I mean, so this is someone who has not heard a single song,
Yeah, let's say they're like, hey, I never
and
heard
I
of.
have full power to like recommend a song for them to go listen to first.
Yeah, or like someone's like, man, like if I like I'm interested in his sound, but like, what does he sound like? And he's like, oh, it's kind of like a Mac Miller meets J. Cole
Okay,
type of thing. And they're
understood.
like,
Because I would say for the most part, most of my music does tend to be a little more on the poetic side of things,
mm-hmm,
very romanticized. Regardless if it's with a positive or negative connotation, it is very romanticized. And a lot of it is also when it comes to the love songs or the heartbreak songs, for example, or the songs about mental health awareness, they are very much things that I personally went through, or things, I saw my parents go through, or things that I
mm,
saw friends go through. But, there has to be a flair of the dramatic. So I will, overcompensate on certain things. There's a lot of songs where I talk about, oh, I loved you since the moment I met you, and da 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 da, which, in my opinion, maybe just because I haven't experienced it yet, but I don't think 100% that can happen. But just for the flair of the dramatic, and
mm-hmm,
for the sake of the poetic justice.
yes,
Um,
the romanticization.
exactly.
Yeah, huh.
Um, as far as influences, I would say I did get influenced a lot by Eminem, obviously, Kendrick, J. Cole, Mac Miller, G-Eazy. I listened a lot to, funny enough, one of the first groups I listened to was NWA, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a lifestyle that I don't necessarily come from. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
know I know people involved in that kind of lifestyle, but that's not me. So like I'll, bang out and I'll, this is hard, this is dope, but I'm like, but I can't talk about that because I never lived, that kind of
Okay.
a lifestyle. But
That's what
Ice
I
Cube,
want. Yes, that's what I wanted to get to. It's
yeah,
like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like,
what's up?
um, I think that's the beauty of art. You may not have never lived that lifestyle, or personally be
No
able
pun
to
intended.
experience it, but there's something about that art that connects,
Hmm.
and that's what I think is important for everybody when they listen to music. They're like, maybe I never did sell drugs or blah blah blah, or Earth, Wind and Fire, never been to outer space, but this music resonates with me for some reason.
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Well, but the thing when it does come to that, I think to properly resonate with people, it has to come from an authentic place. So the tendency that I see artists take is if they don't actually come from that lifestyle, it almost gets glorified.
Oh, you're
And
talking about like the studio gangsters?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You know, have I seen some things and been witness to some things? Yeah. Um, Not that I talk about in the music often, but again, because there are certain things that I haven't done, I'm not going to portray myself as that thing. I'm not
Gotcha.
going to say, hey, I was doing this and I was doing that. Because eventually, once you start getting into that kind of role, people will check you. You know what I mean?
Very quickly.
And they'll check you. And if you're not prepared to match that energy, it could go south very quickly.
Yeah. And I guess I was coming from more of a listener
A
perspective.
listener, yeah.
Yeah. Appreciator as opposed to like someone saying,
But even then,
yes.
again, to properly resonate with people, there has to be some sense of truth behind it.
Okay.
Because I mean, unless you're just, also a great actor on top of a great musical act, if the authenticity is not there, the emotion won't be heard in the lyrics, it won't be heard in the vocals, it won't resonate as far as, the lyrical tone of the song, in my personal opinion.
Okay. In your
And,
what opinion?
in personal opinion.
Okay.
And, you do have people that can, mimic that emotion, and regardless of what it is, regardless if it was, a certain lifestyle or a type of relationship someone might not have ever actually experienced, or making money to a degree, they've never experienced. And, you listen and you listen, and yeah, you could be like, oh, this resonates. But then when you find out, at least for me, when I find out an artist that I used to resonate with never actually experienced it,
Mm,
it shatters that fourth wall for me.
got you.
And I'm like, okay, then you don't understand what I'm going through. Like, I'm glad that you were able to, put into words what I was feeling. But now I feel like, okay, as an artist, if I sat down with this person, they wouldn't understand.
You lied to me.
Pretty much. And so I try, to the best of my ability to never do that in any of my music. And so, I've had people actually check me on that too, because I do have songs that talks about, a certain amount of, status or wealth or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always the first one to say, like, I don't got it like that. That's more so me manifesting the kind of life that I want and saying, like, hey, if this is the type of lifestyle you want to, maybe you can resonate with this. But I never try to portray, at least to the best of my ability, oh yeah, like I got it like that. Like, have I made certain amounts of money in the past? Yes. Have I taken heavy losses? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do I got it like that right now? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I'm always the quickest to kind of set the record straight and be like, no, this was what I experienced at this point in time. It's not what I'm living now. It's, not to try to put other people down. It's just more so, look, this is back to what I'm manifesting, and to kind of put other people into that mindset of wake up, grind, get this money.
Yeah.
So certain things like that. But again,
Ooh.
for the most part, it's mainly just talking about how I grew up, my struggles with my mental health, with depression, anxiety, my struggles with certain substances that I had no business being involved with when I was younger, personal experiences I've gone through. Again, just to be that voice. And the one thing I do also try to do is I also try to generalize. So I'll bring up, verbiage that alludes to, what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
But as an artist, I think is so important. Again, just from the aspect of being the voice for those people, or being able to resonate. That if I go into something that's too specific, it kind of lessens the audience that would be able to relate to it. Versus if I
Mm-hmm.
can just kind of generalize and say, hey, this is a wider branch of people that can listen to this and be positively affected by this.
And relate.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
So
I
there's a
love
lot
that.
of elements that go into the songwriting process.
Yeah,
and
no, I love that. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get
Yeah.
into that. What's one of the names of one of the rappers that disappointed you?
Mm. Tyga,
Mm-hmm.
Because I would listen to a lot of Tyga stuff. And again, I didn't come from that background, but, it's still cool to listen to. It's still cool to, vibe out. And then when I found out that he came from like a rich family, I was like, okay, so you didn't do this. Back before the beef. Drake. When I found out he had ghostwriters, and when I found out that a lot of his, upbringing wasn't necessarily what he portrayed it to be. But I mean, and it's funny because out of those two artists, they wouldn't necessarily be the type of artist I would gravitate towards the most anyway. Like I said, my influences and what I gravitated the most towards was more like the J. Cole's, Kendrick's. I was really impressed with Joyner when Joyner started coming out. I think I was like 15 or 16 at the time, and I heard I don't remember the name of the song, but I remember the music video, and it was a guy like in the middle of hanging himself, which is kind of morbid to talk about, but that was the first song I heard from Joyner. I really, really loved Hobson, and I resonated with a lot of Hobson's music. Tech Nine.
Wow, Tech Nine's big. My brother was telling me that Tech Nine is big in Utah.
Really?
Yeah, he's like people in Utah love Tech Nine.
That's funny.
Mormons are banging out to Tech Nine.
They're like strangulation.
Yeah, they're like we love
strangulation. That's funny.
I also wanted to get into like the manifestation, right? Talking about it, and I remember someone was talking about how because there's also a saying in the Bible, it's like there's power within the tongue, right? Power in what you say. Your words are powerful.
Yeah.
And so basically in these rap lyrics, you could either be rapping about the positive things that could happen in your life, the manifestations, but also rapping about the negativity that's not really happening could also bring that on as well.
Exactly.
And I remember, I'm not sure who it was, but I think he was talking about, was it Takeoff that passed away? That got murdered?
Yeah.
And they were saying that, Takeoff, they were talking about it and then how that manifested technically for his life, which I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Perspective. But back to you, Persinal. I wanted to get into the album, the most recent album that dropped earlier this year, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
Personality?
Yeah, I dropped it for my birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah.
Capricorn birthday. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So you're a late Capricorn.
January 13th, yeah.
Aha, okay. Happy belated birthday, my brother.
Thank you, man.
So, I the boy can rap, ladies and gentlemen, in case you guys were wondering.
I appreciate
rap. Definitely can find the beat. One of the things that I noticed that there's parentheses that have parenthesis P, parenthesis A.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that those are for the stories when Persinal is behind, and then the stories behind Anthony's behind.
Yeah.
Is that correct or incorrect?
To an extent, but
Okay.
it's also what perspective am I speaking from right now? Because Anthony, and I actually talk about this in the song Personality, that Anthony as a person, not to talk about myself in the third person, but just for the sake of answering the question, Anthony being very shy, very reserved, being so quick to love and trust people, but not necessarily being the most confident. And that still, I'm not going to lie, that still spills over to this day. So it kind of just depends, like, who do you get in the conversation? Do you get Anthony or do you get Persinal? Because Persinal really was developed as the confident alter ego, really embodied everything that I wished I could be. That, very sure of himself, confident, commanding with his presence, business focused instead of so emotionally invested. And it was kind of the concept behind the album was the split duality between the two of, this is who I am behind closed doors. This is who I am when I'm vulnerable. This is who I am when I'm handling business. And this is who I am when, my vulnerable self wants to be guarded. And so the P and A, yes, was, who was behind in that point of the story, in that point in time, but also the perspective of what I'm speaking from. So, there's a song, two songs Wild for a Night, because it's not just about the stories or what I went through at that point in time. It's also regarding things like love, regarding things business wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I have like Wild for a Night and Femme Fatale, and that's
Mm-hmm.
very they're both very much sensual songs, very much male confidence when dealing with
With
women,
women, yeah. Mm-hmm.
versus songs like Let You Go,
Mm-hmm.
which is very much Anthony, very much hopeless romantic, poetic, daydreamer, So it's between the two of them. Again, that was the whole concept of Personality, and it was a follow-up to the album Sinner Child.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions for Sinner Child before I go into that? I don't want to ruin the
No, go ahead, man, go ahead.
So Sinner Child kind of set the tone for Personality, in the sense where Sinner Child was talking about everything I had been through. Most of it was generalized. I tried my best to generalize it. But in Sinner Child, and I actually have to give a shout out to Diesel for this one, because he's the one who gave me the idea for the album title.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest struggle that I had, I was always trying to make music people could relate to, music people could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And Diesel would sit me down and verbatim, he'd be like, your name is fucking personal. Don't be afraid to get personal. Tell your story.
Mm-hmm.
So he sat me down one time and he's like, why don't you tell your story, but instead of victimizing yourself, try your best to speak on it from like a third person point of view, like an outsider looking in, and just tell the story and highlight where you messed up. Take accountability for your mistakes. Instead of, Inner Child, you have the name Sin and Personal. Why don't you do a play on that and call it Sinner Child?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, huh. And I think 85% of the album got written like 2 weeks in that 2 week period. Yeah. I just sat down and I ran with it. That's actually what the tattoo is. The album cover was designed off of my artist tattoo that she did for me. And it's my adult hand reconnecting with my child hand,
Okay.
kind of reconnecting with my inner child. And these are actually symbols of the sins I deal with the most. And it was pride, lust, wrath, and greed.
Mm-hmm.
And those were consistent themes that I witnessed, throughout not so much my childhood, but my early to mid-teens into my early 20s, and really trying to do a lot of shadow work to redevelop who I was. And so Sinner Child was a testament to that. And then again, just completely set the tone for, at that point, okay, I told the story of Anthony, of how I grew up, the things that I went through. Now let's get into, how did I develop as an artist? Who is Personal as an artist, and how they separate. So yeah, that was the concept.
Back to Personality album, right?
Yeah.
Some of them actually have P and A on them.
Mm-hmm. So I think you're talking about, there's one, Death Before Dishonor, has P and A on it. And that's also more so, and it's funny because I've noticed, depending on which perspective I'm writing from, my voice will slightly change.
Uh-huh.
And Personal's a little more raspy, aggressive, fast-paced.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony's a little more soft-spoken, a little more, again, not to keep going back to, saying poetic, but just more poetic.
Yeah.
And so that was also to just highlight the differences, again, who's speaking and when that vocal tone switches. And I think the other one that had P and A was Code Red. Code Red. Because if you listen to the first half of the song, the vocals are a little bit softer. It's more focused on, the wordplay. And then in the middle of the song, or like personal things I believe in, like conspiracies and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And towards the middle of the song, there's a breakdown in the middle. And it's, what did I say? But that's a conversation y'all not ready for. Let me just spit some dope shit, the shit you want to hear, some braggadocious, and then the vocal tone switches, and that's when Personal kicked in, and it just became about, talk her shit. So that's also to differentiate between the two. vocal tone, perspective, and time period. Yeah.
You know what it made me think of? Like, because, you know, these alter egos that we have as artists is,
Yeah.
it makes me think of going back to Tiger, right?
Mm.
So maybe, you know, there's the Tiger that's this character, and then there's the Tiger that's at home that grew up in a rich family.
Yeah.
So should we give him grace in that sense, or?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, there could be arguments to be made on both sides,
Mm-hmm.
because on one hand, again, you know, who he is can resonate with audiences.
Mm-hmm.
But for myself personally, and you know, this isn't to knock anyone else, this is just for me, that again, when you speak on things that I feel like if I sat down with you, you wouldn't actually be able to understand or hold a conversation
Mm-hmm.
about without getting flustered. It just really breaks that fourth wall for me, for myself, where I'm like, okay, like I can't, as much as I like the lyrics, if I can't resonate it with you on an actual conversation based interaction, it again, I just, it kind of breaks the ambiance when I listen to the song
Yes.
again. I'm like, okay, it doesn't hit the same.
Gotcha.
So
It's
to
like
speak.
separating the character from the person,
Yeah.
but we want the person to be the character.
Well, and I
Never
think, and it's funny that you say that, because you know, I shouldn't think that way, but that's what people do, right? They idolize
the character.
the character.
Yeah.
You know, you know, Bruce Wayne's not the one who gets idolized. Batman is.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Kent's not the one who gets idolized. Superman is.
Yeah.
Peter Parker, Desmond Miles.
List goes on and on.
Yeah, Tony. Well, Tony, actually, Iron Man, I think, is the only one who could be idolized both ways. Tony Stark and
Yeah.
uh,
Thor.
well, that's different. He's a god. He doesn't need to play a character.
He's just there. You know, Loki. I don't know.
Yeah.
It also made me think about the actor that played, I guess, Joffrey and
I
Game of
hated
Thrones.
that Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I hated that little fucker.
Yeah, like,
he did so good at his job.
Yeah, like he couldn't. I think he quit acting because of it being people just.
So detrimental.
Yeah, like he was such a good actor that
Yeah.
people just thought like that's him, and like
Yeah.
he couldn't be aware. So, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I think Big Chain was a great opening track for
Thank
the
you. Yeah.
thing, and then I think Personality was a good follow up to it. And then I wanted to ask, like, Yo Quiero.
Yo quiero.
What inspired you to make that track and to start, spoiler, rap in Spanish a little bit in there?
So, you know, it may not have been as romantic as my family would have liked,
Mhm.
but my family through my dad's side, because again, he's, you know, my stepdad, but it's my dad.
Mhm.
Him and his whole side of the family are from Mexico. So I grew up in a Mexican household. Every time I would go to visit him, it was my grandparents, and always full of Mexican food and Spanish music. And I remember when I was a kid, we would, my grandpa would take me over the border, and I always knew as soon as we made it over the border, because he'd be like, "Oh, mijo, it's time. You can get in the bed of the truck," and I'd get to ride in the truck through the back ways. And you know, we would just go to clothes and non-perishable goods like canned foods and all that kind of stuff. So Yo Quiero really was just trying to make a good, fun track that people could just dance and party to, but also paying homage to the Hispanic side of the family I grew up with.
Okay.
Again, you know, I remember when my grandma and grandpa had first heard that song, they were like, "Mijo, you couldn't think of anything better to talk about?" I was like, man, I had to do something fun, you know, white boy, you know, in Spanish. You know, I just wanted to make like because at the time too, I was also listening to what's that song? There's a song with J Balvin and G-Eazy, I think, where G-Eazy started getting into the Spanish. Justin Bieber did Despacito remix. There was an element of white boys, making Spanish music, and I was like, hey, but I actually come from a Mexican household.
Yeah.
My turn, so
Let's be real.
yeah. So that's where Yo Quiero came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
¿Quiénes tú quieres?
¿Quieres tú quieres? No. So here's the thing, and funny enough, I understand more than I speak.
Uh-huh.
So I had to sit down with my dad, and he would speak to me in Spanish, and I understand more than I'm able to translate. So I had to sit down with him, and I'm saying, okay, so how would I word this?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad helped me kind of piece together some stuff. And then my coworkers, when I was at the construction yard, they were all from Mexico too. So they helped me finish the kind of verbiage on, some of the slang. But it was always like I even have customers that come into Mathis, that's where I work, and they'll come in and, Spanish speaking, and they'll speak to me, and I'm like, yo hablo un poquito, pero yo entiendo más. ¿Qué necesito? Necesitas ayuda, qué color, qué, whatever the case is. And then they would be able to start speaking to me in Spanish. But once it gets to a certain point, I don't know the proper words to say, but I can understand them. So then it just becomes charades.
Got you. You gotta get him his Duolingo account up, guys.
Yeah.
Gotta get his, okay.
Well, and it's funny because my grandparents too were also mad at my dad, because my dad, he's from Mexico. He was actually born in Mexico, but he doesn't speak Spanish.
¿Qué parte?
So my grandpa was born in a small town called Torreon, Coahuila, and met my grandma in Mexico City. I think my grandma was from either Guadalajara or Sinaloa. And then my dad was born in Mexico City, and they came to the United States when my dad was, I want to say, in 3rd or 4th grade. But then growing up, when he came to the United States, I don't know what it was. He's just not, like, if you hear him speak on the phone, no accent, sounds 100% American, doesn't speak Spanish to anyone except, the Hispanic side of the family. And he's always even made jokes where he's like, you're more Mexican than I am, because, I was so involved with wanting to learn the culture. And when I worked at the construction yard, every payday was, ay, cabrón, a pistear, vamos. And we would all get, that means like, let's go get drunk. And we would all go get like Tecates, Modelos, get drunk and play soccer. And like my dad knew that. And my dad's like, dude, you're more Mexican than I am. And so, I grew up with my grandparents wanting me to learn, but my dad never really took the time to sit me down and teach me, because he didn't, I don't want to say didn't care enough himself, but he wasn't even really, culturally involved.
Yeah. And usually they say that language is passed on through the mother. As far as like the mother tongue, they say it's usually taught by the mother. The father is the protector and the mother is the teacher, technically.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about freestyling?
Freestyling is such an acquired innate ability. I mean, I'm sure you could work towards it, and you always have to sharpen your blade. But I also feel like people who are able to freestyle off the dome, it's a different type of mental processing to be able to think that quickly. Because I'll be honest, I can't. Like,
you cannot freestyle? Okay.
Like, I can, get through like a bar or two, get through like maybe 4 bars, 3 or 4 bars. And then I'm like, okay, hold on. Let me listen to the beat. Let me think about what I just said. Okay, let me try to continue. Like, I'm very much a thinker. And so the songs that you see where it says, freestyle in the back, they weren't necessarily written, but it wasn't all in one take either. Like, I would sit there, record like 2 or 3 lines, and then take it back and be like, hey, what can I say after that? And, just try to get creative with it. But I cannot for 2 or 3 minutes just straight
freestyle
bar out. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Got you.
So again,
wouldn't even try?
I would try.
Okay.
I've tried before. I've tried with Diesel once or twice. I've tried with a Tangent, who I'm also very close with. He's like another brother to me in the music industry. And Tangent actually wanted to sit me down and give me, freestyling like tips and tricks and try to mentor me into that aspect. Cause he's like, dude, once you learn how to freestyle, he's like, you're already a good rapper. But once we can get you to freestyle, you're unstoppable. You'll be able to go battle with people.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've tried, but I just, not to be funny about it, but like that scene from 8 Mile, just, because my mind just freezes up. But I have a lot of respect for people who can just off the top of the dome just keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going.
It's a whole nother skill.
It is. It is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a different beast, I'll tell you that for
Gotcha.
sure.
And I was going to ask if you wanted to freestyle with us today.
Shit.
No pressure.
I mean, I'll be honest, if I were, there will be elements that are thought off the top, and then what I can pull from what I have memorized will get implemented just to kind of push it further. So it wouldn't be 100% authentic, I'll be honest.
If you want to have fun with us, you can have fun with us. It's up to you.
All right.
You want to go? You want to freestyle with us?
Sure. So just a cappella or with an instrumental?
So if I kick a beat, you'll freestyle with us.
I'll try.
So yes or no, sir?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, freestyle commence.
Psycho or a genius, tell me what's the line between the two. I'm splitting personality, split duality in the booth, kind of like I'm Kanye. I'ma do it my way, pay attention to myself, listen what a God say, not even a Gemini. I just really fuck with that, me and myself. Tell me why are you looking so petrified? Come over to the table, tell you how it is. If it's easy to make you quit, you a bona fide bitch. Been in it for a decade, now I'm finally barely getting paid. Speak it to the universe, making it do what I say. Champagne popper, eating it with the blue flame. Mash you with the mouth way I'm spitting it just like Pompeii. Slow burn, but the pressure steady been applied. Center of attention the very moment that I arrive. True, I'm a vibe, it's the mood, it's the hype, it's the big dick energy. Shorty know I provide. Parade my sins and wear my heart on my sleeve, just to show you I'm the person you expect me to be. Why I got the sin and personal for you to believe. Despite the flaws and your mistakes, you were made to achieve anything you wanted. Don't you let them tell you different. You've been living in the present, that's the reason that you gifted. Take my people and uplift them, I make sure they feel the blessings. Quick to give them flowers way before they see the heavens. Tomorrow's never promised, so I'm focused on a present tense. Moments that I'm doubtful, I'm reminded of the lessons. That's right.
Hey, do well. Thank you, Persinal.
I was trying not to stumble.
Thank you, Persinal. Thank you.
I had to take a quick break. I was like, where do I go from here?
Wherever you go. Hey, that's the best part. That's the best part. It's like you never know what's going to happen. It's the beautiful part about life. You just never know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Persinal. Thank you,
Yes,
man. Sir. You mentioned before, and correct me if I'm wrong, you grew up, pops teaching you, making you listen to heavy metal music.
Yeah.
I think you may have mentioned before that you may have played guitar and drums as a youth.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Do you think, would you ever be interested in maybe going back to playing some instruments and seeing how that affects your music
creative process?
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world, I would love to. In a perfect world where, if I had just this to focus on, meaning like I didn't have, the day job, I didn't have, exterior elements pulling me away from the artistry itself.
Mm-hmm.
If I had all the time in the world, I would love to sit back and get back at least on guitar, get back into playing piano, and implementing that into my recording processes and really teach myself the structure of music, because I don't know music theory. I didn't even understand the structure of bars for the longest time. I would just put on a beat, write to it, and whatever sounded good to me, to my own ear, I would just do it.
Yeah.
And You know, a lot of it just has to do with trying to juggle the day job because I don't work a regular 9 to 5. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm constantly, 10, 11, 12 hours, 10, 11, 12 hours. More often than not, I'll go in on my days off. And then on top of that, being involved with Dapper and trying to build a community for the next generation of artists or artists that came from previous generations that kind of took a hiatus and trying to give them a platform, is, much as I love doing that for the community, it takes away from me being able to pour into myself as an artist personally. Um, and on top of that, I actually just started college in February.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of,
Spread thin.
yeah,
Gotcha.
very spread thin. So, if I was able to eliminate, and I would never eliminate Dapper, but if I was, able to eliminate, okay, I became successful enough that I can maintain my bills just off of the music and I don't need the day job.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, cool, I finished college, so I don't need to worry about college and free up some of that free time allowance. I would absolutely love to. But right
Gotcha.
now, like I just like any more elements on top of what I'm dealing with right now, like I'm gonna cave. I already know.
Gotcha. It's
Yeah,
just too much. You can only hold so much.
It is.
And
It
I,
is.
I was guessing like, you don't need to know music theory or anything. It's just kind of like what sounds good when it's in your hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like you're just playing,
Yeah.
right? And whatever sounds good. So that's kind of what I meant. It's just like, because I learned personally myself, like using Andre 3000 as an example and other artists, Wyclef Jean, et cetera, that music starts to develop differently when an instrument's in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Especially from like a rap artist, starting from just like a rapper using my voice alone and then working with the producer as opposed to like, okay, now I have an instrument and then it just opens up doors in a different way, which is kind of interesting. Like synapses in the brain start flickering differently.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of curious about that. And to continue on, I wanted to ask, yes, couple of things. Oh man.
What's up?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Persinal is a rapper, but he's got a button up, right? Right. So would you say that, that, being an MC out here in the IE, but since you dress well, quote unquote, we say dress well, that's dressing well. Do you think that's opened up more doors for you in different aspects?
So funny enough to get into this, and I kind of already made a reference to her, and I said, I have some, important behind me that, when we were having a conversation about this actually like 2 or 3 days ago.
Okay, so we're right on
And,
time.
Yeah. And she said that she finds it appealing and different for me to be dressed up. Maybe not like completely in a suit. She did say she likes me being in a suit, but
Okay.
at least, with the slacks and the button up while I'm rapping, because it's not something that you normally see.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be something that people can help remember you by. Because everyone, that comes out that's in, the joggers, the Jordans, the snapbacks or dad caps or bucket hats and, the chains and all this. And everyone looks like clones of each other. So if you're the only one that shows up to this event, people might look at you sideways. But the minute you get on the mic, you're undeniable. And now you're also standing out because of the way that you're dressed. You're not dressed like everybody else. And I sat down and I was like, huh. I was like, okay. So this actually dressing up like this was actually based off of her advice. Normally, like when I, would go to stuff like this, the only reason, because I did the heavyweight podcast with Stud and McFly, and I was only dressed up for that one because I was literally going to work right after. Otherwise, I'd be in joggers, t-shirt,
Snapback?
dad, well, more like dad hat.
Okay.
With the chains and all that kind of stuff. And so being in sales was very different for me, especially because I, again, didn't grow up in that kind of, socioeconomical subdivision of, people dressing well and, taking proper care of themselves. And so when I started working in sales and had to get into a suit for the first time, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt like a stranger in my own skin. And then, I grew to appreciate it. And people, as much as I hate to say it, they speak to you differently.
100%.
They treat you differently.
100%.
Versus if I just went in with, my, joggers or baggy jeans with my baggy t-shirt, all my tattoos showing, with my hat on, versus, okay, I walk in and, I have the button up, I might have my sleeves rolled up, but I have, the watch, I have the shoes, I have the slacks, and it's a different presence. And you can just notice the energy shift from people in the interactions with you. So I don't want to necessarily say that it opened doors 100%, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to try to get into that door, so to speak. And again, it was actually just based off of her advice. She was like, no, like if you're going to go do the podcast, like dress up a little bit. And I was like, all right. All right, I will. Yeah.
Should we give her a shout out?
It is still fairly early on, so I don't want to jinx anything.
Okay. Oh, yeah. You guys are together?
Working on it.
Okay.
Working on it.
Okay.
I'm putting in effort.
Okay.
I'm not perfect.
Got you.
But
Hey.
I'm putting in
Takes
effort.
two to tango, my brethren.
Yeah. But I do heed her words and her advice very heavily.
Okay.
She's also in the entertainment industry.
Okay.
Which is another reason I'm trying to just
keep it low.
Yeah.
I think I know who it is. I think I know. She's based in the IE.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I have an idea. I have a suspicion. I haven't. Yeah. But we'll keep on going. We'll keep on going.
Yes, sir.
I think I heard something really interesting in a track, and I think it's related to real life.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but it said, and I'll phrase it this way. Have you felt blackballed by the IE hip hop industry? And if so, do you still feel like that today? He wasn't ready, folks.
That's either Death Before Dishonor or MVP, because they're both kind of in the similar wavelength as far as that goes. So funny enough, those songs were written a couple of years ago, and I just had never gotten around to recording them during a point in time where I did feel that way. Now, are there different variables and different elements I was too young to understand at the time? Yes. Do I understand that there's a certain level of politics I feel has to be played in even, just the Inland Empire music, but just music in general? There's politics that have to be played. It's almost like a musical Game of Thrones, So at the time, I did feel very overlooked. I felt very overlooked. Competitions I had been in where I wasn't advanced, and to the point where even the crowd would look and be like, how come he didn't, and being told this by so-and-so, or he said, she said, and yada, yada, yada. So I don't necessarily still feel that way now, but also because I wanted to write those songs just for the perspective and for any other artists that might be able to relate that, are still, because a lot of us, and what artists that are local don't understand is that a lot of us are closer to the same level than some people think, in the sense of, you could have someone who might have been rapping for just a year, and they see me doing the Dapper Up event, or they see me on podcasts, and they see me doing this, or they see me on the Aux Connect, because I've had people reach out to me and be like, dude, that's so cool, how do I be like you, how do I do that? And I'm like, dude, I'm nobody. Yes, I'm an artist and I've had opportunities to do cool things, but if you want this opportunity, hit up so-and-so. I try not to gatekeep. I'm like, hey, go hit up so-and-so, make the connection, let them get a feel for you, and, we'll see, hopefully it goes out from there. But I'm not no international star. I still have a day job, just like most of most of the rappers in the scene do. Everyone still has their day job. We're all, regardless of opportunities, everyone is still at the same base level where none of us can really quit the day job and say, yes, I'm living off of the music. Very few and far between where that does actually happen. And when that does happen, much love and prayers to you, because that's what we're all trying to get to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have noticed almost a stigma where people who have had certain opportunities to do things almost have an air about them.
Okay. And arrogance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, have I had all the opportunities I would have liked? No. But have I had some opportunities that I can say, someone else might not have been able to experience? Yes. But all it were opportunities of being in the right place at the right time, or getting connected with so and so.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice to artists that are just coming up who, look at play numbers, or they look at the content that's being put out, like, don't get so wrapped up in the social media end of things, because that's kind of what I was referencing earlier, that a lot of people will portray what they don't actually live, or they'll milk the fact that, oh, they had this one or two opportunities to do this really cool thing, and they'll milk it for their content, milk it for their content, milk it for their content. And then you see them at events where we're all at the same level, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they have that aura, they have that arrogance, that kind of like swagger, like, yeah, I did this. And it's like, that's fucking cool.
What's your bank account look like?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so for artists who might be on the opposite spectrum of things, of, oh, like, I wish I could do these things, hit me up. I guarantee you I can get you plugged in with someone like that to at least, get the ball rolling, so to speak, or,
Mm-hmm.
get the, going down that hill, or going up the hill. I guess it's an uphill battle in this game.
Mm-hmm. So you don't feel blackballed anymore? Not as much?
Only because I said, okay, I don't want to do the politics.
Mm.
That's why I sat down with Diesel and we made Dapper Up, because,
made your own lane.
Exactly. Because now, and the biggest motivation of it is to build a platform, right? But from a business perspective, there has to be some semblance of, okay, what name can we build for ourselves, and what name can I build for myself, and how do I become undeniable? Because now I'm not just an artist, now I'm a business. Now I'm providing opportunities. Now I can go to venues and say X, Y, and Z. This is what I can bring. This is the value I bring.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I have artists hitting me up, it does feel a little bit different, in the sense of, holy shit, like, now I have a little bit of pull that I can, connect these people with so-and-so that I didn't have before. And I didn't have to play the politics to get there. I just said, okay, I don't want to be involved with all that. I don't want to have to kiss so-and-so's ass, because that's not in my character. Like, if I fuck with you, I fuck with you. And if I want to give you flowers, I'll give you my flowers. But if I don't know you on a deeper level like that, I'm not kissing your ass just so I can be put on a show, or just so I could get this music video done by so-and-so. Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather come out of pocket and wait and bide my time and say, okay, now all my pieces are in place, versus trying to go the quick way of, dick riding somebody else.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing that.
Gotcha, man. It's almost like you're taking things kind of personal,
Yeah.
And, I was going to save this for later, but I think we're just right on it. And so, going back to, meeting Diesel, and I think it's 3 partners, right? For Dapper Up?
Yeah, with Imagine. Yeah.
Right. And so since you guys have been open almost like 6 months now, almost a year?
No. Our first event was in December. We're barely coming up on our 4th event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how much have you learned so far in like the business and everything, from when you started to where you are today with Dapper Up?
Well, so Diesel and I were actually involved with a team. How much do I want to air out about
Gotcha.
that
He talked a little bit about it. About how it fell off, and you two kind of stayed on together.
Well, so again, I had met Diesel at a Pomona Loud event. I had met Diesel, and at the time, I think what a lot of people still don't know, I had oh, that's cool. You have your logo on here. I didn't realize that.
Bam.
That's cool.
Yeah. Turn it around for them. Turn it around for them so they can see it. There we go. Bam.
And so At the time, I didn't have any of the connections. I was just coming out as an artist in the scene. Again, I had been rapping and writing music and recording music since I was about 16, but I never took the time to like try to go do events because I felt like, okay, I'm not there yet. Again, if you're not able to tell yet as the audience, I'm someone who's very structured and I have to make sure everything is in place before I decide to make a move. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not someone who is impulsive. It causes me way too much anxiety because I
Mm-hmm.
need to think about the variables and the ins and outs and the what could be's before
Gotcha.
I'm like, okay, can I handle all the calculated
Gotcha.
risks?
That's probably why freestyling might be an issue because it's void of calculation, of
Exactly.
pre-calculation.
Exactly. And so, when I was coming out as an artist, I literally just went to Instagram and typed in the search bar, i.e. rapper, to see like all these accounts pop up.
Mm-hmm.
And I never even met any of these fuckers, right? And I just put everybody in a group chat. And I was like, hey, just not even realizing how close that the community already was. I
Mm-hmm.
guess that was
Naivety.
well, naivety and a portion of, I'll be honest, and I could take accountability for this, my own ego, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It was very vain of me to think like, oh yeah, I could be, I don't even know these people, but I can connect them and I could cement my name because I'm connecting everybody. Everyone already knew each other for like years. I was like, oh fuck, okay, let me go
Got
back
you.
to the drawing
It's
board.
like, do you know Noah James?
Yeah, so it's funny because he was one of the people in the group chat. I was like, son of a bitch. But so I made this group chat, and Diesel was one of the people in that group chat. And I would see, everything Diesel was doing. I would see everything that Noah was doing. And at the point in time, again, because I was the emerging artist, I was looking at these people and idolizing them because I'm like, oh, they're at the level I want to be at, hopefully soon. And so I met Diesel at Pomona Loud, and I was like, holy shit, I think that's Diesel. I was like, hey, do you know who that guy is? And the person next to me was like, dude, I'm trying to enjoy the show. And I'm like, hey, but look, you, is that Diesel? So yeah, I just walked up. I had a conversation with him, and he liked my energy. And so he invited me out to a show he was doing in Fullerton. I show up to the show for the open mic portion. I showed up early to help them set up. I stayed for the whole event, and I stayed to help them break it down. And I did that for like 4 or 5 more events. They were doing kind of something similar to what we're doing now. They were doing a monthly thing. And eventually I got asked to be brought on as the host of the event because he said, hey, like, he's like, you're, the pretty face, you're, energetic, you're, lively,
Mm-hmm.
you can, keep the crowd entertained, keep the crowd involved. How would you like to host this? And I was like, oh, hell yeah, 100%. This all has a point back to your
Yeah,
question, I
yeah.
promise.
We're getting there,
Yeah,
folks.
yeah, we're getting there. So again, I'm very wordy and I'm sorry. So I start hosting the event and I start realizing the amount of work that goes into pre-production and post-production as far as live events go, right? But I still wasn't in any, decision-making status. I was the host. We got to a point where we had a very, very underground type of venue,
Okay.
packed the fuck out.
Mm.
And we outgrew it. So the third party member of that group, had upgraded and got himself a storefront, and we were supposed to start doing things there. Now, from a business perspective, I understand why he did what he did. On a personal level, it should have been voiced from the get-go because we were being told one thing and he was strategizing another.
Where's the
Yes.
respect?
Exactly. So we had found out that the whole time we were doing those events, he was making money off of the alcohol sales
And not even splitting
and
it.
the merch. And yeah, no, like Diesel and I never saw a single dollar.
Mm.
We were doing it in the sense of, okay, we're going to build. And, once we get there, then we get there. Right. And we were working on an honor system. So then he upgrades to the storefront. And he's like, oh yeah, this is going to be for us. This is going to be for, I'm not even going to put power to the name of, the group. But he's like, hey, this is going to be for us. This is going to be for the company. And, we get there. It's opening night. And I get told, oh, so-and-so is going to help you co-host. I was like, what? I was like, I've never had a co-host. He's like, yeah, no, it's just for tonight. And Diesel started getting comments made to him like, oh yeah, I'm teaching my son how to do like sound engineering for events.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
so he's like trying to phase us out because we found out he was making money and he didn't want to break anything off.
Mm-hmm.
So Diesel and I both, holding true to our values and saying, you know what, okay, we wouldn't want to work with somebody like that, so we cut ties.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever he's doing now, more power to you. Wish you all the best. But so Diesel and I took a hiatus, and we remained friends, but we took a hiatus from throwing events.
Mm-hmm.
And then fast forward a couple of years from that point, and I wanted to get back into, building my own lane. I wanted to get back into not having to rely on the politics of things. So, I'm back in this mindset of wanting to build my own lane and wanting to cement myself into the Inland Empire as a staple. And so we had sat down and we were brainstorming venues. He was bringing forth some ideas. I was bringing forth some ideas. We came up with the name Dapper Up. Funny enough, it was supposed to be a play on Diesel and Persinal.
Mm-hmm.
But, we're both also individuals who, like to dress up a little bit and, have a flair for, walking in the room. Oh, that's a sharp dressed motherfucker.
Yeah. Yep.
So Dapper came with it, and I was like, oh, DAP, Diesel and Persinal, Dapper. I was like, all right, cool. Maybe we should
It works.
It works. And we thought about, that would be like the company name, which would, go great on merchandise because it would just be Dapper Up, everywhere. And it's like a cool little slogan. There's really no restrictions to anyone who could wear it from a business perspective. But then we sat down and we were like, okay, but what would, the events be titled? And we ended up coming up with the Limelight. And at this point, Imagine was involved. Diesel brought him onto the team, and I had met him before at the Fullerton events that we used to throw. And I always loved just how humble and well-spoken he was. But Diesel brought him on saying that he used to, throw a lot of events himself. He had a lot of experience and he's very business-minded and focused. So I was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Especially with me myself, because it is a team effort. But the one thing that Diesel and Imagine have both, kind of encouraged me to do is that they both said, we've been doing this for years. Like, we're kind of let you take control, and if you need us to step in, we'll step in. But like, this is your time, so handle it how you see fit.
Mm-hmm.
And I rely on both of them so much because I'm still learning the ropes of how to do all of this.
Yeah.
But the one thing that
So what have you learned since the opening?
So getting into that. So the one thing I've learned first and foremost is the amount of fucking time it takes to put all this shit together. I'll tell you that much.
Give us an example, what you're talking about.
Well, it takes weeks of preparation because you have to book the artists, you have to make sure that the artists are locked in, you have to have certain backup elements in place just in case an artist or a vendor flakes out last minute. So we have to have someone that's kind of like a surprise guest in the crowd just in case we need to pull someone up. And that's the one thing we do benefit from because we do have 3 music artists on the team. So if anyone flakes out, then it's like, hey, Diesel, you want to go do a song or two? Hey, Persinal, you want to go do a song or two? Hey, Imagine, you want to get up on stage and do a song or two? So we kind of can fill in those gaps.
That is a good benefit.
Yeah. Being the liaison between the venue and the event itself. And, as a business trying to hold value, that way we have leverage. Because ultimately what I want to do, and I don't know if you've ever been to that venue, Fuego, but it's very upscale, very nice aesthetically. And the one thing that Diesel and Imagine are trying to, instill in me is, don't be so hung up on the venue. Like
the look of it?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
we're the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'm not gonna lie, I do get hung up on the venue a little bit because it would, break my heart if we had to go do it somewhere else because the venue is just so fucking nice. But learning that we bring the value to the venue. Like, yes, the venue looks nice, but the venue would not be there if we're not making them money.
It'd be empty.
Exactly. So if we're not there. So learning how to value the team also as a business and saying, okay, like I understand, the venue is letting us do this here, but we have leverage now. And eventually I want to be able to take that leverage and I want to build to a point where we can start doing a circuit. I mentioned earlier that I started college, and I haven't talked a lot about this because it's very much in the early developmental parts of the plan, right? But the school that I chose to go to is Norco College because Norco also has one of the most extensive music programs for community colleges in California, and they have I think it's called the Nobo or Norbo, something starts with an N, but it's a music event placed just for students. And again, going back into, what I'm trying to learn, into building my own lane, I'm trying to be 10 steps ahead at all times. And I'm like, okay, if I can get involved with the student-based music, because it's almost like a mini festival where like 800 students come out and they enjoy the show, and only students are allowed to perform. So if I could perform there and get to a point where I have that whole audience and I could say, hey, if you like my performance, we also do events over here, and start trying to pull the college crowd, the college nightlife into that venue.
The college artists,
college producers, college people who are getting into podcasts, people who are getting into photography and videography, people who might make merchandise. Then I'll be able to bridge the gaps between the two and say, hey, look, if you're looking for connections, I got you over here. But now we're also building our audience, and we're getting more people in the door.
The networking.
Exactly. And so if I can build and build and build and build to a certain point to hold leverage for the team, we can go to so-and-so venue. Or really what I want to try to get into is a college circuit, because every college has entertainment budgets. And if I can build and build and build up to that point where they're like, oh yeah, we would love for you to throw an event here. The first one or two I might do for free just so we could build
the connection
and the ambiance. But then once social media starts seeing that in other colleges, we'll see, oh, they had that event and look how popular that was. I want them to do an event over here. Okay. I want X amount up front. This is my leverage now. Because that's all this industry is. It's leverage. It's people and if you don't know the people, or the people are not giving you the opportunity to provide the opportunity for yourself, you have to hold value and leverage. What do you bring that makes you worth it? Doesn't matter how dope you are. Does not matter. You could be the dopest person in the room, but if you can't even bring a single person out to watch you, no one is booking you.
What's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you can build that base and build that leverage, now people are going to start reaching out to you and say, hey, I want you out here. It's not about, hey, how can I get on? How can I do this? No, people start reaching out to you now. And you're like, oh, you're reaching out to me? Okay, as a business, I can provide X amount of people that'll go into the door. That's about X amount of dollars. Okay, I want this much up front. And if anyone tries to argue that, I hold the leverage. You reached out to me. Do you want me or not? And that's what I would encourage every single artist. Doesn't matter what level or stage you're at. Like, of course, still do it for the love. Do it for the love. And if it's an event being done or hosted by someone you're close with, just make an appearance. But if you're getting into a realm of starting to do events with people you're not even familiar with, build your leverage and use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
and that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning through this is how to build leverage.
Yeah, I've learned that's the key to success in kind of almost any industry, especially business and I guess personal industries as well, is leverage and options. Shout out to CGA. How strong is your leverage that you have and the options that you have because of the leverage that you can do. And when you say a circuit, so we're saying maybe like, okay, let's say as Dapper Up Entertainment, we have a guarantee like 5 artists that are going to perform, and we're going to go to CSUSB, and then we're going to go to Valley College. We're gonna go to Chaffey College, like a circuit like that, something
Yeah.
like that.
That's what I want to build to.
Okay.
Now, again, there are so many small steps that have to be taken to that big goal. And it's, again, I haven't talked about it a whole lot because I don't want to jinx it. And I also, because of the, the daydreamer part of me, like I'll daydream and get in, my head about the fantasies of, well, what if I could do this? And what if I'm able to build this? And then I get lost in the ambiance of it. And I'm just like, oh, this would be so dope. And then I have to re-ground myself and say, no, motherfucker, okay, if you want to get there, this has to be executed, this has to be executed, this has to be executed. You have to be at the right place at the right time for this to happen. You have to know who to talk to be able to establish this. But before you can talk to that person, you have to build your leverage on this end to bring it forward. So there's so many different variables into this, but like I have everything so structured that, I mean, of course, are things always going to go according to plan? No. So I have contingencies in place. I have backups to like put here and put there. But, and again, very early on into that developmental process, but that's what I'm working towards. Mainly because, again, I didn't want to play the politics. I wanted to build my own value, hold my own leverage, and make it my own way. I didn't want to have to depend on anybody. Yes. And now, I'm in a position where not only can I build this for myself, but maybe I can also build this for the team. Because if I'm eating, I want to see the people around me eat too. Yeah. And it feels that much more triumphant.
Rewarding?
Yeah, it feels that much more rewarding when you can not only make that happen for yourself, but for the people around you that you care about. Yes. And provide them opportunities too, because who's to say, maybe we even just do 1 or 2 events. With the college circuit. And one of the team members gets this amazing opportunity for themselves. Please do it. And I am so happy that us doing this was able to provide that for you. Please take it.
And I just wanted to say, Persinal, I know you kind of didn't want to jinx it, but you never know who's watching. Yeah. You never know who's listening. There might be someone like, you know what? I've been looking for some new artists to put on, and you can find them here on The Empire. And I also wanted to say, ladies and gentlemen, and correct me if I'm wrong, Persinal, but if you're an artist in any type of field, the link for Persinal and Dapper Up will be in the description. So reach out to them if you guys are interested in growing and knowing and collaborating. Reach out to them. They're open, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I just wanted to also say that. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you guys can reach out to them. Please reach out. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. They're good people. Good people. It's all of them. I haven't met Imagine yet, but I have met the two gentlemen. Personally, you want to play a quick game with us?
What's it?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah? All right. So this is called Memorable Moments.
Okay.
And so I'm going to give you this, and I want you to tell me what you think is happening in that picture. I'm not going to lie, that one's a little bit more difficult than the other ones.
I mean, just based off of, I could be way off, but at the beginning of the journey, whoever this is a little bit younger, starting with the humble beginnings. There's only a single door with no windows. They put time, love, and effort and stayed humble and stayed happy regardless, because she was happy here just as she's happy here. And I'm thinking that it's the same person, just older, because the hair seems a little bit longer. Obviously, the person's a little bit taller, but that could also just be matters of perspective. And elevated into the larger house, multiple windows, different doors to enter the home, and the road is continuing to go on, meaning regardless of where that person goes from here, they're going to stay happy. They're going to stay grateful for what they have.
Flip it over. Tell us what it says.
$311.25. What is that one?
Lou Dowdy.
Oh, Lou Dowdy, 20 years with the county, from the streets to the corporate seat.
Boom.
Okay, I feel like I was kind of on
Yeah,
par.
no, I think you were definitely on.
Cool.
I think you were definitely on. And if you'll indulge us,
Yeah.
would you mind drawing a memorable moment that happened in your life?
Oh, yeah, I'll try. I'm not the best physical artist.
Hey, it's all good. It's all sketch worthy, man. It's all sketch worthy.
So it's not really a specific thing,
For sure. No.
but just encompassing.
Don't tell me.
Don't tell you?
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah. How was your experience on the Aux Connect?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. That was so cool for me. The only other thing that I had really done like it was I did a live performance at the B-side show about a year and a half, 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years. I forget how long it's been. Fuck, I'm getting old.
Mhm.
Was it 3 years ago? Whatever. And then I did a live performance, and shout out to B Gravity for this one, and Creative Connect. He had me on my first actual like cipher, where there was 3 other artists involved, which was really really fun, really fun. And being on the Aux Connect, especially with just the platform that they have, I saw it as a really good business opportunity for myself to kind of get my name out there a little bit more. And what I'm really trying to find, kind of in the essence to your earlier question of, what are you learning through, the business of Dapper Up, is also finding how to be a little more consistent with my social media presence without getting caught up in the social media end of things. And being guests on things like the Empire podcast, the Heavyweight podcast, the Aux Connect, and having that content where I can just hit a quick little share, but I don't have to give too much away or pour too much into the social media aspect of things and getting lost in the comparisons. Is where I was like, okay, you know what? That's probably the best way for me right now, so I don't get overwhelmed and I don't get overstimulated.
Have to overthink about it.
Exactly. But the Aux Connect in of itself was just a really cool experience. I love the ambiance of the setup that they have. I like as funny as this is, and it's not even a whole major thing, but I like the color tone of the backdrop that they have. Yeah, it just sets a very cool tone. And not cool as in like, oh, like dope, but literally, blue being in the cool tone of the color spectrum. So it felt very cool, very calm, very composed. Was, I guess, the 2 emotions that I could say that color sparked out. And it was actually fairly quick. I was in and out. I did my 2 songs. I don't know when Big Chain's being released because I understand that they're on a schedule of releases, but the MVP performance is out right now, which was it was really cool because, and not to bring it back to being a white boy in hip hop, but I think I'm like the second white boy or third to ever be on their platform. And I'm also one of the few people that did an actual live vocal performance, because mostly everyone else is pre-recorded. So there's an artist, and I know you said no phones, but I just want to make sure I'm saying his name correctly, so bear with me.
Yeah, you're good. No phones.
Yeah, right.
No. Slap it out of his hand.
Yeah.
Question is, folks, how quick can he find it?
Man, I don't remember his name because I also don't know him personally, but he runs in the same camp with a rapper that I'm really cool with named Mercutio X, and shout out to Mercutio, man. That dude's a rock star. But he had done a live vocal performance, Mercutio's friend. He did a live vocal performance, and he was the first white boy to go up. So I was like, hey, represent. And B Gravity did a live vocal performance, and again, shout out to him because he's the one that put me on to the Creative Connect with the cipher. He did a live vocal performance, and I was like, you know what, I want, because they did ask me to have 1 song prepared, and I was like, but that's not a testament to me as an MC. I was like, so can I do a live vocal performance? And they're like, for 1 song, yes, but one of them has to be pre-recorded. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but whatever.
It's been said.
Yeah. Oops, sorry, guys. So I did MVP live vocal performance, and it was a lot of fun. There were two areas of the song where I got tongue tied and I stumbled a little bit. And they asked me if I wanted to re-record it, and I told them no, because that takes away from the fact that it's supposed to be live.
Yeah,
So I was like,
authentic.
exactly, raw, authentic, unedited, unfiltered. I was like, keep it, because
Mm-hmm.
people will know that this was live because you hear me stumble. Like it got to the part in MVP where it was a ain't with the beef, I'm a go it and dead and no speaking my name, I'm protected, respected. OGs, they know me, the one that they betted. See, I'm getting even tongue twisted right there.
Mm-hmm.
Been on my bully, I'm back to the menace. I've been putting on, better give me my credit. You'll only affect me as much as I let it. And during a portion of that, I got tongue tied because that's a very difficult verse to recreate. But
Lot of the tongue. A lot of the tongue.
yeah.
His lady friend's gonna like that. A lot of the tongue.
I almost made a comment, but
Oh, hey,
I was
come
gonna
on.
no, I was gonna
Come
say
on.
that would give it away. That would give it away.
Okay,
Yeah.
it would have, huh? Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell her later.
Gotcha. Hey, okay.
Um,
Dang, we don't get it. Man, that's not fair. It's okay.
Sorry, guys. But yes, I told them to just keep it, but it was a lot of fun, and I always get humbled, when I get opportunities like this and like the Ox Connect, the Heavyweight when they invited me to be on their podcast. I always get really humbled, because I understand that, again, even though a lot of us are at the same level, when you draw back the curtains and break the romance of the image. But there are a lot of artists who are just starting out who don't realize, how to get into these kind of, connections and opportunities. So whenever I get to, do something like this, it's kind of like almost like a handshake to my younger self that,
Hey,
you know what I mean? Like,
you're on the right track.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you may have mentioned that you haven't worked with any local producers. Is that still the case?
Yeah, only because and what I really wanted to do was cut out the middleman. So I taught myself how to mix, master, engineer, like the whole album. The only thing I didn't do is produce the beat. There are 5 producers from YouTube that I work with that, I'll purchase their beats from them, or they'll lease it to me, or just because I've been working with them for years, they'll just send me something and be like, yeah, you can have this beat. Like 5 or 6. And then every now and then I'll venture out, I'll try to, get in contact with local producers, but I'm just not. And when it comes to the local producers, and, of course I haven't heard everything in their catalog, but, I'll go through and I'll be like, hey, let me listen to some stuff. And it just doesn't feel like me.
It doesn't
And
resonate.
it doesn't resonate. Exactly. And so the 5 producers that I've been working, the 5 or 6 I've been working with from YouTube, they've been working with me since I was 18 years old and, just coming out to record. So everything they send me is very structured to my sound and my vocal cadence and my speed and my delivery setup.
So it's like almost 10 years in the making working with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So, they're not local. One of them, I think 2 or 3 of them are from Los Angeles. One of them's from fucking England, of all places.
Okay.
One of them's in Australia, and one of them is on the East Coast. And again, it's just, would I like to work with the local producers? Yes, but when I was first starting out and I didn't have this concern, I'm playing with the thread and
No, you're
stuff
good.
like
I
that.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself, man.
It was just bugging me. I was trying to pull it, but yeah, whatever. So, I do want to branch out and work with the local producers because I feel like that would just help, that much more to cement my name in the Inland Empire. But, I've been like on my own, so to speak, for so long because now I have a support system that I never had. Now, Diesel, always takes the time to remind me that you're a big dog now. Like everything that you wanted. Yeah. Everything that you wanted is slowly coming to fruition. People know your name now. People know your face. People respect you. But having felt for so long that I was kind of always just the underdog and I was overlooked. And again, not wanting to play the politics, it was like, fine, like I don't need to go to your studios. I can build my own and teach myself how to do it. Okay, I don't need your producers because I have the producers I've been working with. Okay, I don't need your opportunities because I can provide my own. I'll figure out my own way how to do it. Like if you guys want to gatekeep and not share, fine, I'll figure out how to do it myself. And, was that the motivation of what they were doing? Still to this day, I can't 100% confirm that because, again, I was also younger and I was not as even-tempered as I am now. I was very hot-headed. I was very quick to assume. So, I could be completely wrong and I could be completely making an ass out of myself based off of those assumptions,
Yeah.
And
Yes, sir.
I'll be the first to admit that. But just speaking from the mindset I was in at that time. Personality was 100% mixed, mastered, engineered by me. The only thing I didn't do was produce the beat. Center Child, 100% mixed, mastered, engineered by me. Everything that I've done. And that's what I loved. Just a quick sidebar between going from Center Child to Personality, because even just I think they came out like 6 or 7 months apart, maybe 8 at the most.
Yeah.
And you can hear a drastic change in the quality of the mixing and mastering because I figured out how to do something different. I was like, oh shit. And I rolled it over to Personality. I was like, yo. And it was just like one of those like proud moments for myself. I was like, hell yeah. But
so we get to like dance and stuff.
yeah. So but I do want to, because I'm coming up on my 30s and I fucking hate saying that, but I'm coming up on my 30s and, I do want to experience what it's like to work with a crew in an actual studio, not the home built studio.
Yeah.
But, be surrounded by, the people that are surrounding you and the support system and, have the local producer, have the people who can, put their 2 cents in on, hey, maybe deliver it like this or put this lyric here, try this, and just the whole, ensemble of it all.
Yeah, and it makes me think, going back to like, the networking aspect and the touring and everything like that, is like maybe I think it would be in your best interest, and why not, right? To work with some of the local artists, right? Or the local producers.
Yeah.
And it gets me into another question, is like, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, on both albums, Center Child and Personality, there are no features.
No. And that was deliberate. I wanted, because those were so personal, no pun intended, to who I am, that I wanted every single portion of each individual story to be my voice and my words. Now, and it's very early on, but I'm working on. So there's an album that's not out anymore. It was called IE Coldest, and I think I had like 2 or 3 features on that one. I had Elizabeth Rose, Lex the Rapper, off the top of my head that I can remember I had on that album. But I took it down because there were some earlier, kind of what I was going into, about glorifying certain things because I was younger. They were things that I had been through, but it was going into, the subject, and you can hear about all of this on Center Child, but, I've had substance abuse myself, alcohol, certain, drugs. Haven't touched since I was 21. The only thing I still do is my nicotine, and, I still drink here and there, but, I stopped partying around, 21, 22. But in IE Coldest, the first album, I was almost glorifying the fact that it's fun and it's carefree and, kind of what does, Wiz Khalifa say, we're young, wild, and free. Yeah. So it was coming from like that kind of perspective. And as I started getting older, I was like, this is not the message I want to give out. So the distribution that I use is DistroKid, and as far as I'm aware, you cannot remove specific songs from an album. It's either all or nothing. So I had to bite the bullet, and I took the whole album off because I didn't want those songs tied to me anymore. I didn't want that message to be relayed or perceived. But then I came out with IE Coldest 2. In IE Coldest 2, I have Jai Milk, I have Diesel, King Dope, which was a really cool. I'm not sure if you're aware with who King Dope is, but he's an artist from. I'm not sure if he's primarily LA or IE, but I know he's from both. Throughout different points in his life, and he had been signed to Death Row after Snoop took over. He's currently signed to Death Row Records.
From the new one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just a major artist, and I met him at the gym of all places, and I remember because he was showing. There was someone who he was training with. And he was showing him music off the iPhone. But you know, the music files, how it comes up, like when it's a song you've recorded and sent to yourself, that little icon that pops up. I
Ah,
recognized it. I was like, oh, you make music? And he's all, yeah. I was like, that's cool. I make music too, man. Let me get your Instagram. Like, let's work.
yeah. The rest is history.
Well, no. So I went to his Instagram, and this dude's a rapper. Like, again, signed to Death Row, fucking 30,000 followers.
Mm-hmm.
He had just had a post where he was on the cover of uh, XXL freshman.
Yeah, I was gonna say double
Yeah,
XL.
yeah, double XL. The Death Row chain and all this stuff. I was like, oh, okay. So you rap. Okay,
Okay,
I
gotcha.
am not at that level, you know. But you know, I maintained a friendship with him, and because I was never the type to hit him up and be like, hey, bro, like, how can I, get on? How can I do this? No, I would just hit him up. You know, I would see him post. Some certain things that were kind of mental health based. So I would take the time to reach out and be like, hey, bro, like, are you doing good? Like, do you need anything? And I think he appreciated that because he did me the favor of doing a song and didn't charge me. And that song's called Triggered. So I was really proud of that one. But so the common theme, and to get back to the question, is that, Sinner Child and Personality had no features, but, I started doing my small amount of features with IE Coldest. I did a couple more with IE Coldest 2, and right now I'm currently working on a project, IE Coldest 3, that's 100% collaborative.
Hey.
Yeah, 100%, and I'm only featuring artists from the Inland Empire.
I love it.
So a couple people that have already locked in. This one, we still have to decide what song he's going to do because I sent him 2 references, but SonnieBabble, Mercutio X, Diesel. I really want Tangent, the Wiggy one on the album. There's a young kid that I met through SonnieBabble. His name's Scrappy G. I'm getting him on the album. Really talented young cat. Met him at one of the Dapper Up events. But yeah, so it's going to be 100% IE rappers. Not necessarily that I know, because I don't have to know you personally, but if I like your music, I like your style, and I feel like it's authentic, I'm going to put you on the album.
Let's collab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to do it as more of like almost like a mixtape where it's like extended, like like 30 songs, but like I'm not going to be able to do all these cool features and narrow it down to 7, 8, 9, 10 songs. No, this is going to have like 18, 19, 20 fucking songs on this bitch. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
No, bro. Okay. I know we're on the right track because oh God, I love being aligned. Because my next question has to do with SonnieBabble.
Got it. What's up?
Correct me if I'm wrong, if you ever said this, but did you ever say that out of all the artists or majority of the artists in the IE, that SonnieBabble has the potential of becoming a national star or an international star?
That's 100% correct.
And why?
It's really just in the aura that he carries himself in. When you speak to Sonny, he's very much someone who feels larger than life, almost. Like, we all have dreams. But this is one of those individuals where you can almost see the manifestation of destiny of those dreams becoming reality. And I understand that he was, born and raised around, this lifestyle and this aesthetic, and, kind of had the work ethic instilled in him. But that doesn't bring his work ethic justice. He's a different monster. Constantly working, constantly bettering himself, constantly branching out into different styles and different sounds. And he's one of the few artists I can say that, and he's on a very small list, and this goes with Diesel, Tangent, SonnieBabble, Mercutio X. Like, there are a lot of people that I know, but to have my respect not just as an artist but as a person, and he's one of those few people. And that's not to say that I don't hold respect for other people, but I just haven't had the opportunity to actually know them beyond the music. So yeah, SonnieBabble will always have my vote of confidence.
Nice.
Yeah.
I just got an idea for another personal album.
What's it?
Those that I respect personally.
It's funny. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, so Tangent, forgive me. He actually had an idea for an album, and he said, "Oh, like, I have to get you on the album because your name is Personal." But he was bringing up a person who is personal. and it going into, you know, the emotional aspect of different things. Those I respect personally. I could play with that. I could play with that.
But you see where I'm going though,
Yeah,
right? With it,
yeah.
you only have those artists on that you respect outside of their craft.
Yeah,
Right.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be different.
Yeah.
I like
Exactly.
that. I like that. That might be in the works.
Yeah. You know, just don't forget, you know, where it came from. You
I
know,
won't, man.
I'll take 10%.
I'll give you 25.
Okay, even better, even better. Quick question.
What's up, man?
How did you hurt your back?
I hurt my back in the gym.
Gotcha.
So it still causes complications. Like, I don't know if you see me cracking my neck constantly, or, you know, my neck and my back still bring me discomfort. I had a herniated disc in my lower right back that damaged the nerves in my lower right back. I had trauma-induced kyphosis, so my upper back and shoulders were rolling and hunching over, and I had to wear a steel-enforced back brace for like 4.5 months to kind of help realign the spine and push my shoulders back, but my shoulders are still having a tendency to roll forward and do this.
Gotcha. Were you squatting? What was
Deadlifts.
Deadlifts. A little too hard.
Well, no. So funny enough, and what was frustrating about it is I wasn't even going heavy. I was doing maintenance work. I literally only had a plate on both sides. But what I didn't realize, because my body's had a lot of bodily injury. Like, my right wrist has been shattered. Both of my shoulders have been dislocated. I've had damage to my left ribs. I've had damage to my left knee, you know. And I'm getting older, so it's all starting to catch up with me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I had done micro damage, that I was literally, again, just doing maintenance work, like just routine, super lightweight, just repping it out. And my body just gave out. But in the moment, it was weird because I was in the middle of my exercise and I felt something in my back pop. And in the moment, it felt good. It felt like pressure release. I was like, okay, you know, we're good. And I kept through my workout. Got home, took a quick shower, and I was like, oh, you know, I still got 2-3 hours before I got to be at work. You know, I'm going to take a quick nap. Woke up, went to go stand up to get out of bed, and my legs wouldn't support my weight, and I collapsed. And I was like, what the fuck? And I was trying to walk, and, you know, when I was finally able to stand up, I was kind of like waddling like a penguin almost. Like, I couldn't walk straight. I couldn't stand up straight. Like, my back kept wanting to do this. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It took me 2.5 weeks before I could even get myself to go get x-rayed because, you know, I don't live with my mom and dad. And I didn't want them to worry about me. So I didn't even really tell them anything of what was going on. So I just kind of suffered through it. And got myself to go get x-rayed about 2.5 weeks into it. That's where they found the herniated disc. And they're like, oh yeah, give it about, you know, another couple weeks because it usually takes about a month at most for it to kind of go back into place.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you know, whatever. So the next 2 weeks passes. I go get x-rayed and they say, okay, you know, the herniated disc went back into place. You know, you have a little bit of damage, but, you know, you should be okay. And I'm like, no, I'm still in a lot of pain. And I had a limp and my shoulders were still kind of hunching a little bit. So that's when they moved up because they didn't x-ray my whole back at the point. They just x-rayed where I felt the most pain because that's all I felt. And once that pain started alleviating, I started feeling the pain from everywhere. Started feeling the pain for everywhere else. So the second round of x-rays, they go to my shoulders and the back of my neck. And that's where they found the trauma-induced kyphosis, and they found signs of called unconvertible hypertrophy, and they found it in the C4-5 and C5-6 vertebrae behind my neck. And it turns out that that's just degenerative, and it got passed down from my mom's side of the family.
Okay.
So the cartilage is wiping, and I'm starting to feel the bones starting to grate, and that's what's causing the discomfort. That's why I'm constantly trying to do this to kind of relieve that pressure.
Yeah.
And they said that that's just as I start to get older, because I'm too young, they refuse surgery because the only thing that they could really do is go in and try to put spacers in between the vertebrae. But they're like, you know, you being 28, nope.
No.
Yeah, they're like, maybe when you get older. So I just kind of have to deal with that for the time being.
Gotcha. Have you considered like yoga or Pilates to help?
Not Pilates. I do a lot of physical therapy. I do a lot of stretches. You know, I have put on a little bit of weight since the injury. That's been kind of it's been hard. You know, just, you know, physical image wise, and, you know, my own mental. Because before the injury, and, you know, not to, you know, brag, but I was in such damn good shape, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I took such great care of myself. I wasn't drinking. I paid attention to what I was eating. I think I weighed in, I was like 197 pounds with 12% body fat.
Gotcha. At what height?
My ID says 6 foot. I'm like
Okay.
5. I'm like 5'10".
Okay.
Yeah, like 5'10".
6 feet. He's 6 feet on camera,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm like 5'10". But yeah, so I was 197 with 12% body fat, and my arms were just huge and jacked. My back and my chest were just out. And then I went through the injury, and I was on 90% bed rest for like 5 months. And it was on the 6th month where they finally allowed me to, because I was seeing a chiropractor, but for the first 4 or 5 months it was mainly just like they would do slight little adjustments and electrotherapy. Slight little adjustments and electrotherapy, because they said that the injury was too fresh. And then on the 6th month they gave me my first, like, they didn't do the full body. They just did the neck and the upper back, and said that we would move to the lower back when they felt a little more comfortable, but they readjusted that and it helped. And I was able to walk, straight for the first time.
Yeah.
But I still had a limp, and it was messing with my sciatic nerve. Fast forward, I finally go back to work, and because the injury happened in May, I didn't go back to work until October.
May of 2024?
Yeah, last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is still very fresh. Like,
Yeah,
I'm still
not even a
dealing
year.
with I'm still dealing with the consequences
Yeah.
of it. So yeah, May last year, I got back to work in October, and I'm walking with the limp still. I'm still in a lot of pain. So I keep going to the chiropractor, and then funny enough, one of my customers from Mathis, comes in, and I'm walking with this limp, and I'm trying to keep up with them, and he, cracks a joke. He's like, "Motherfucker, you're too young. What you dealing with? What'd you do? Like, sprain your ankle or something?" And I explained my whole situation. He's like, "Oh shit." I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "That sucks. Like, you were too young to deal with that." I was like, "Preaching to the choir here, dude." Like,
Hello.
yeah. And it turns out that he is involved in the chiropractic business and had a connection for a different chiropractor here in Ontario. And the one I was going to was in it's like one of the cities centering LA, like Montebello or Monterey Park. That's what it was. Monterey Park. That's the chiropractor I was going to. He was in that area, and then my customer got me to a chiropractor here in Ontario. And that chiropractor literally reset everything. He went boom, 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 boom. And I was like, wait. My other chiropractor said, my body's not ready for X, Y, and Z. And he goes, they just wanted you to keep going.
Pay me the money? Gotcha.
And
medicine's the dirty game out here.
No, the hardest thing is I can't even, open a lawsuit, because that's a very fine line between, hey, like, his body wasn't ready versus, oh, his body may have been ready now, and I can't disprove that. You know what I mean?
So, are you the professional? Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, so the chiropractor reset everything, and I've, been able to walk without a limp for the first time. That just happened. I just got rid of the limp in December.
Wow.
Of last year.
Okay.
And it's still, I'm still in pain, but the pain is manageable at this point. It does get hard to sleep sometimes. Especially with everything else I'm dealing with college, work, the music stuff, the remnants of the pain of the injury.
Yeah.
I think the last like 2 or 3 months I've been operating off of like 3-4 hours of sleep a day. And then my body literally just gave out yesterday. I slept like all day. I slept almost like 16 hours. Like, I was out.
So it's so nice to have you here with us.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have you here with us, man.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, what I learned about like the health is that, it makes you appreciate health more when it's off.
Yeah.
You start to realize like, wow, like I took this for granted. This thing is so for granted. You just don't realize it. But again, I'm glad to have you here and glad that you're able to make it here with us and here with us, man. And keep searching for remedies.
Yeah.
And it will come. I do believe in ask and you shall
receive.
Yes. Yeah. I do believe in that. Seek and you shall find. And I do believe, I was telling this to someone earlier, I came up with this saying that there is no such thing as, you can't spell testimony without test.
Yeah.
So stay strong, because this is a test.
Yeah.
Try to keep in the right, speak like I have in my book right there behind you, be kind to yourself. So speak kind words to yourself. I know it might be difficult because um, my assumption you might be saying like, what did I do to my body that, like, what did I do to this? Why? But be kind to yourself because your body does hear you. Your
Yeah.
body does love you and it wants the best for you.
Yeah.
So I just want to, I want to just say that. Play a quick game with me.
What's up? Yes, sir.
All right. I'm gonna say a word and I want the quickest thing that you think of come back to you.
Okay.
Make sense?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Quick slip. Here we go. Outcast.
Andre 3000.
Empanada.
Empanada. Great food.
Icy.
Icy. Hyphy.
Igloo.
Igloo. Snow.
Infamous.
Infamous. Star Wars. Bounty Hunters.
Okay. Wait, say Star Wars what?
Star Wars. The infamous. Yeah. There's a expansion pack.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fans.
Music.
Freak show.
American Horror Story.
Reminiscent.
Memories.
Ugly.
Doesn't exist.
Arrogance.
Too prone in too many industries.
Priceless.
Unconditional love.
Chlamydia.
Don't got it.
Time.
Time. Appreciate it.
Whiplash.
That's what I'm dealing with my neck. No, Metallica.
Father.
My best friend.
Thank you. That's quick slip. We got to move on quick on these last ones here.
Yeah.
What's something that most people don't know about you? Even close friends.
Even close friends? Shit. That's hard because I'm pretty much an open book with everybody. I think the one thing I'm not completely open about that most people don't know is how deep my anxiety actually runs.
Mm-hmm.
Because I keep it behind closed doors, and usually only someone that I'm, intimate with, like a partner, really sees that side of me behind the closed doors. I am incredibly hard on myself, incredibly. And when I feel like something is slipping out of my control, not in the sense of people, because people are their own and they need to make their own decisions, but situations, when situations feel out of my control, like I have to sit there and I have to obsess over how I'm going to fix it and do damage control and what variables do I have to consider now to get to this next point.
Yeah.
And it's mentally exhausting. And so, I'm very open about dealing with anxiety, depression, ADHD, all the, mental stuff that I deal with. But I don't think people realize the depth of it,
Okay.
so to speak. Yeah.
That is definitely something new.
Yeah.
What current projects are you working on?
IE Coldest 3, I'm still sitting on 97 Legend. 97 Legend is unreleased. Letters to You, unreleased. 97 Legend was just a collection of, banger songs that didn't make the albums. And Letters to You is actually a 100%, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm blanking, but basically it's just all R&B songs.
Okay.
Exclusive. And it's a 100% exclusive R&B album that talks about, relationships I failed at, relationships that partners had failed at, situations that were inspired by my mom and dad, situations that were inspired by my best friend and the women or, woman he has dated or is currently dating, stuff like that.
Sounds like a Fam Likely collab on that one. Maybe Luke Beige might show up.
Yes, sir.
Person, I want to thank you so much for being on the Empire, man.
Of course, man.
Let's say 100 years pass by, 250 years pass by. What would you like your empire to look like when people look back to say, oh, that's what Persinal did. That was his empire. What would you like your empire to look like, Persinal?
Not necessarily just in music, but just in life as an aspect that you can become successful and stay true to your integrity and your morals. That you can become successful and still remain kind to the people around you and provide opportunities for the people around you. And that at the end of the day, that the empire that was built on the foundation of being a voice for the people who felt voiceless and being kind to the people who hadn't felt it yet. And I think that would be the most important aspect, that again, yes, you can become successful, but you don't have to sacrifice who you are to get there.
I,
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you, man.
I love that, man. Personal, thank you so much for being on the Empire.
No,
Can you
thank you for
please,
having me, man.
can you please let everybody know they can find you, support you,
Of course.
work with Dapper Up, all that stuff?
Yeah. So the Dapper Up account is DAPPERUPENT on Instagram. We're hosting the events where we also have open mic competitions, and whoever wins the open mic competition gets, a whole range of goodies, from an exclusive beat from Eugene O'Neill, an item of choice from one of the vendors that we work with, a photo shoot with Tawny One, a headlining spot on one of our future events, access to merchandise, access to interview opportunities, so on and so forth. So we're currently hosting that as well, and that's part of the Limelight events that we host. And then for my actual, no pun intended, personal account, you can find me under PERSINAL official, and that has all the current podcasts I'm doing, current interviews, current live performance events, all that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, I'll have that in the link in the description, so you guys can just click on that. I want to thank Persinal for being on. I want to thank all you guys for tuning in, listening, watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Comment down below. It helps a lot with us, the growing. If you want to support us with those greenbacks, you can do our Cash App, which is $THEE Empire Podcast. We also have PayPal, other things, which is in the description. So it really helps keep this work moving and going. And thanks. We also have a merch and a bunch of things, book, et cetera, et cetera. Persinal, is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Just, one more time, thank you again for having me, man. It was an honor. Yeah, very humbling. Thank you.
Thank you for being had. We're going to try something before you get out of here. I have one question that I want to ask, which is, because I do see you, because I believe you're well-spoken, well-dressed, have a good mind. I do see you doing things outside of music. Do you see another career vision for yourself outside of the music industry?
So what I'm actually going to college for right now, I do have to finish the gen ed, because unfortunately I never made the time to go to college after high school. I'm, fixing that mistake now. But after my gen ed, I'm on a 2-year transfer for business analysis and business program analysis, with a plan to do a secondary minor in hospital administration. That way I could take the business degree into the medical field, but also what I learned from the business can be retranslated back into the music on the side.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what career would you like to do? You can see yourself
either hospital administration, like a hospital administrator, or pharmaceutical sales.
Yeah. He's not going to do drugs, just sell them.
Well, and I would like to think that I would do thorough enough research that I would only be selling pharmaceutical medications that I can actually get behind. Like, not just, for my own bottom dollar and sell, poison. Like, I would do my own research, and my best friend is actually in biochemistry.
Cool.
So I would be able to ask him, like, hey, what do you think? These are all the ingredients. These are the, values of the ingredients. What do you think? And he would be able to tell me, okay, this is an actual medication that I would recommend to a patient. I'd be like, okay, So.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because I just saw something about Ozempic and about how it comes from like the venom of a lizard, and people have been having cases where their eyeballs are falling out of their eye sockets. So very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, thank you so much, Persinal. It's been great.
Thank you.
We got a lot of info, so thank you guys again, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Yes, sir.
Peace.